And we're recording, sir.
How's it going, everybody? Welcome to another unexpected episode of Across the Aisle. I'm Justin Collins. I'm here with my good friend Chaz Case. Chaz, we planned on waiting for another few days to do another episode, but as soon as we wrap up the last one, all hell breaks loose. It turns out.
Yeah, we didn't want to wait until next week because it'll be old news by then, and so
God only knows
here
what'll
we are.
happen by then.
Yeah, here we are.
Yeah, but as we all know at this point, a group of, you can't call it anything other than violent rioters, stormed the Capitol building while Congress was in session. And a lot of funny memes came out of it, sure, but we also unfortunately lost, I think it's three or four lives in the process.
Yeah, 5 now. That was the latest count.
Five?
Yeah, one of the officers died.
Yeah. So, so let's dive in, man. What do you think? Is this, I don't know, am I alone in kind of, like, I know it was obviously horrible and there's no excuse for it, but like, part of me like expected it at some point to happen. If this was going to end, if Trump wasn't going to win again. I know we just spent the last 6 months saying, well, we're not the ones, burning down the city and, destroying private property and things like that. But it's like, I don't know, something that was just so, it seemed impossible to happen. The fact that we were even in the position where Donald Trump was our president, it's like, if he wasn't going to win, I kind of expected it to end worse than this, honestly,
I couldn't agree with you more. I mean, as tragic as yesterday was, as horrific and terrible, it was really predictable. I think at least a lot of the people that I've talked to, and I think even in some of our conversations, we've said that the rhetoric is scary. You can't say these things and you can't say these lies and expect people not to act on them as in some level. We have a lot of very, I don't know, vulnerable is the right word, impressionable, but
eggshell head.
Yeah, where there's a reason that we elect people to be leaders of our country, and we need those people to be a head above the rest. I mean, I like when people can tell it like it is, but that like it is needs to be truthful and it needs to be backed up by facts and evidence. And if it's not, you get people who end up living in fantasy worlds. And I think we saw yesterday how dangerous that can be, especially when you stoke the fires of it. I wasn't as surprised as I wish I would have been.
Yeah. But on that note, I would like to just clarify, at least from my position, I've seen it a lot just since yesterday. Trump incited this riot. It's treasonous of him. We need to try him for, crimes against America, things like that. He incited these riots. I get that people are impressionable. People can hear something and interpret it however the hell they want. Sure. But you can't say someone incites something unless they directly incite something. You can go back to the guy who shot up a congressional baseball game, and he said it's because Bernie said the tax cuts were going to kill however many people, 100,000 people or whatever.
Yeah,
that's Bernie's fault. It sucks. Like, that's obviously not what Bernie meant.
right.
Now, again, there are impressionable people. There are people who genuinely look to our president on both sides of the aisle and say, like, this is the embodiment of us. Like, this is who we are. But I was having this conversation with my fiance last night. And she's like, how is it not embarrassing for this country that this is what our president of the United States is? And I said, do you judge the people of France because of what Macron does or says? Do you judge the people of Canada because of what Trudeau says? Like, I don't view the president as, this is what speaks for me. Like, this is what embodies all of us. The president's the president. He's the guy we vote for, one of two people. I don't put that much stock into the president, but I understand people do. But as just disgusting and as just wrong as it all is, I still am not willing to say Trump incited these riots. Um,
Yeah. Um, so I hear you, and it is something that we should take seriously, and we can't just throw out that word without having all of the evidence and the context of what he said. From what I heard from the rally that happened right before the riots took place, he was saying that he was going to march from Pennsylvania Avenue. Like maybe he said walk. We're gonna walk from Pennsylvania Avenue down to Capitol Hill. I'll be there with you. We're going to, as he told the crowd, as you guys put it, we're going to stop the steal. Chants came out that said, fight for Trump, fight for Trump. And he said, thank you, yes, thank you. Rudy Giuliani used words, we should have a trial by combat. I, I think if you're defending his words as not being inciting a riot like this, you'd have to at least say that totally irresponsible, totally negligent. And then his inability to get on national television and condemn these for way too long, whatever the case was, it took him way too long to get out there and say, hey guys, yo, this is not what I meant. Leave the building. Are you serious? You're not with me. If you're in there, you're not with me. And
well, it doesn't
when he
help.
did,
Yeah,
sorry.
it doesn't help that Twitter, took it down within 5 minutes of him actually doing that either.
Yeah, it would be amazing if we had a way to get information from the president without the use of Twitter. It seems
Sarcasm
like
pretty
maybe
thick
we've done
there,
that for
but
a couple hundred years.
Mhm.
But fair point, I guess. Yeah, I mean, we'll talk about the social media stuff because it is interesting. They all kind of did come together and what I think felt to me, at least on my side, like, at least we have some grown-ups in the building who are about to do their civic duty and put the baby in the closet. But
Mm.
which is crazy to say. He's the president of the United States, the most powerful country in the world. And I feel like, hey, we need to take his phone away from him and give him a timeout because what he did was so irresponsible.
Yeah, and a lot of people are pissed off, man. A lot of people in his cabinet just put in early resignations. Like, dude, I'm out. Like,
That was the last straw.
and even the way he throws Pence under the bus, like at the last minute, like Pence could have stopped all of this if he would have just done his job. It's like, first of all, I looked into it. Whatever constitutional authority he's saying Mike Pence has, he doesn't.
No.
He doesn't. He could send the ballots back to the states, but it's still up to the states to suss them out and count it again or whatever. It
Right.
doesn't, like, he's not the one with the authority to say, okay, I'm sending these back to the states. These don't count. You count these. If these came in past 8 o'clock, you can't count. Like, he can't actually do that. So then to publicly just run this guy over, really the only guy who's had his back consistently through the entire
For 4 years. Could you
has
imagine being
never
his
uttered
little
a
lackey?
word. He never said one thing
No.
out of line. See, yeah, I disagree, man.
Yeah. Well, I am so glad to hear that. It does seem like there are a lot of people who are saying those things, and I want, if I could speak to the Democrats here, I know what you feel like. I know you feel like saying, we told you so. I know you feel like just dancing all over the place, but if you could hold it in, and just take this moment to say, I'm glad that you see it that way, and I see it the same way you do right now, and I'd like for us to come together because I don't think there's anything more important than that over the next month or so, that we figure out a way to tamp down all of these tensions and this partisanship and get back to a place where I totally disagree with Mike Pence on just about every policy issue, but I would welcome somebody who I disagree with policy, but I think he's a good family man. He raises his kids right. He's respectable. He cares about our institutions. I mean, we can disagree on policy all day, but yeah, I think it's been very hard to watch some of the rhetoric coming from Donald Trump about the election just yesterday. However, I don't know, give a little bit of credit to him. Did you see his last response just a couple hours ago?
Did he do something after he went ahead and said there'll be a peaceful transition and everything we've been dying for him to say?
Yeah, I mean, no, that was the last thing that I heard was him
Yeah.
saying, all I was trying to do was fight for the integrity of your vote in the elections, but
Mhm.
Congress has spoken. And I mean, at the rally yesterday, because I rewatched that, he was like, "We'll never concede, we'll never stop," and it was like, I, what happened, Trump? What happened? Did some? I mean, I almost felt like somebody was right off camera, like, "Say it. You better say it. Don't you dare go off script. I wrote that whole thing. You read the freaking thing." Like,
It was
and he
not a good
did
look,
it, which,
man.
you know, I I would have never guessed in a million years he would have backed down. I was really, really surprised, but he does seem like he's a little nervous that he's losing whatever little grip he had on the Republican Party, on a
Yeah.
lot of his supporters. Um, yeah, yesterday was a bad moment for the country and definitely for Donald Trump.
And you know what's remarkable? Everything up to this point, and even including the the riots were stolen.
Mm.
We've got all this evidence.
The
Even up to
elections were stolen. Yeah.
yeah, excuse me. Even up to that, um, I still thought if this dude comes back in 2024, he will walk in to the primary candidacy untouched, just name recognition alone.
Yeah.
And I said, however many episodes back, if he would have at the beginning of this made a public thing with Joe Biden there, and he just said, I went into this to make America great again. I feel I've done that. I've accomplished it.
Mm-hmm.
Joe, here's the keys. If you fuck this up, I'll be back in 4 years. That would have just been that just would have been awesome. Like it would have yeah, he's still admitting defeat but his ego's preserved. And then he would have come back in 4 years and he would have made it to the primary, without
I
question.
1,000% agree with you. But that's
And
not
even
who Trump is, right? Like that's not.
it's too much finesse. That style, that takes thought. You got and how
That's
on his staff came up with that. Like it was a friend of mine who told me that once. He came
Yeah.
up with like, dude, you need to go work for this guy because that's fucking brilliant.
Yeah. I mean, that's exactly, you're 100% right. But that would require a little dignity, a little respect for the institution like this. It's everything that Trump is not about. He's about bulldozing over people. And so it was just so I'm not using this word right, antithetical to who he is. For when he lost, it was like, does not compute, I don't lose. He's never experienced this in his entire life. Anything he wanted, he threw money at. He got a lawyer to take care of. He's never experienced this kind of. It's almost sad. You feel bad for this,
Dude,
76-year-old man, that he's learning lessons that he should have learned in middle school. But he was just, I think he was in above. I don't know. I'm not a psychologist, but it sure looks like he's got some personal issues that personality-wise weren't, I don't know, edged off. And I think a lot of us get those through school and through growing up and having some hardships of our own that we kind of smooth over our rough edges. And I'm not sure that Trump ever had anybody to smooth off those rough edges. I can't speak tonight, sorry.
Yeah, no. And I've been able to go this whole 4 years. I can say when Trump says something stupid, I can denounce it and I can say, I don't agree with that, or that was very poorly said, or whatever. I don't even like that, or I'm completely against what he said. But I've always had, but you know what he's saying isn't necessarily affecting the day-to-day operation. At least the country's running well. Give him that. And then, but now to come to this point where he spent the last however many months questioning the integrity of the election and getting so many people to do it with him.
That was the real part that I would love to talk about too, that how many of these Republicans who knew, I mean, you've got to know that they knew that there was no chance in this ever working out. They knew for sure that, that Trump Trump appointed judges throughout the evidence because there wasn't any. And
Mhm.
they decided, no, I'm going to stand up and say something because in a couple of years, I'm up for reelection and I want to have Trump's base.
Mhm.
I mean, if there's ever been a blatant play for getting people on their side, I hope
Yeah.
people remember this in 2 years. We have a pretty short memory in the United States, so 2 years is such a long way away. But
But what's pissed me off so much this time, in spending all of this time fighting the election and questioning the integrity of it and calling out all of this
yeah,
allegations, but I mean, widely just there just wasn't the evidence to back it. Um, I truly believe that act in itself is what's screwed up the Georgia election for Republicans.
mhm,
Um, he was basically telling rural Georgia, whatever happens, don't worry about it because I'm still going to be in the White House because
yeah,
this shit was rigged. And so rural Georgia's like, all right, cool. Well, I voted last time, and Ossoff or Purdue it was up by like 80,000 votes. So like, what's the big deal? And then it's
well, I think he had even said, don't vote for these guys. It's a rigged election anyway. I mean, what's your vote gonna
no, that
do?
that was the two lawyers.
Oh, okay.
Susan, no, whatever the one who said she had the Kraken on steroids. I don't remember her name.
Oh,
I don't remember the guy, but no, there was two lawyers that were saying. But Trump was rallying in Georgia, saying you need to vote for these people, otherwise, they're going to take over the control. But then on the other side of his mouth, he's saying, "But either way, I'll still be in the White House because we all know I won this election. I won it by a landslide. I won all 50
right.
states." Like,
Yeah, he could have done a better job to get the vote out in Georgia, and it probably cost them those Senate seats, which cost, I think, probably only 2 years. We'll have the House. It seems like it
overall
flips
power
back and
never
forth
lasts
like
very
that.
long. Yeah, overall power never lasts very long.
But for the time being, and at this point, Democrats, hey, this is your chance. Like all of these things that we've been talking about getting done, let's go now. It's go time.
Yeah,
So
we'll see.
we shall see. Yeah, because that's the part that is always so frustrating. That I mean, the infighting and things like that, we got to knock that aside. And we've been clamoring on about all these policies that we want to get accomplished. So let's get them accomplished over the next 2 years. And um, but what I'm worried about is that I don't think Biden is the change candidate. I think he's the steady as we go, keep everything okay. I appreciate that he is more. Um, I don't know. He respects the institutions a little bit. He'll restore us to normalcy. It seems like he does really want to say, "I'm going to be the president for all of America, not just the left America." Um, but as somebody who wants some of the more progressive ideas to get done, like drug legalization, I don't think we're anywhere near that kind of thing federally anyway under a Biden administration.
No, not even with the House and the Senate and the Supreme Court if they had it.
Yeah,
No, that's the priority.
like he just doesn't seem to have any exciting ideas, anything to like, this is going to happen. So I'm interested to see infrastructure, how we can rebuild our roads and our bridges, and maybe go into the like. I hear about these trains that are in other countries that can get you like, why don't we have a train system that can get us from New York to LA in like 2 hours? Where's the Hyperloop at? Where's these big projects to get excited and excited
Yeah, well,
about? And we
he
just don't
put
seem to
Mayor
have
Pete in
those.
charge of transportation, so I think he got a few years before he could be excited about that. Dude couldn't even fix the potholes in South Bend, Indiana.
Oh, Buttigieg. Oh, well, I think Buttigieg is a genius. I didn't like that he played the game a little bit too much during the political thing, but the dude speaks 7 languages and he's a pretty impressive guy. Whenever I hear
Yeah,
him
he's a
talk,
Rhodes
I'm like,
Scholar.
what's that?
I think he's a Rhodes Scholar too.
Yeah, Rhodes Scholar, 7 languages, military veteran, gay. I mean, you couldn't have picked this guy out of a more like political climb. I don't know. He just seems like a box somebody made him just to
If you
be the
close your
president of the
eyes, he
United
sounds a
States.
lot like Obama.
Yeah, I think a lot of his speaking style he learned from Obama too. He pauses, he's very thoughtful in his responses, the way he speaks. I think I said gay there. I didn't mean like gay is a reason that we should vote for him or anything like that. But he seems to he checks all of these boxes that you would want for somebody to be the president. And not only is he's gay, but he's from South Bend, Indiana, so he connects with people in that like inner America, hometown growing corn area of our country. And there's nothing wrong with that. We need to connect with those people too.
Yeah, maybe. I don't think so, but maybe.
You don't think that he connects with those people?
No, I don't. I
He
think
was elected mayor twice.
Yeah, but
Second time even more.
He what?
The second time he had more people vote for him than the first time. I mean, I guess name recognition and things like that, but re-elected as mayor.
That necessarily means he connects with those people. I mean, I would think a lot of them would see him on TV and be like, look at this hoity-toity trying to pretend he's one of us. Look at him in his fancy suit.
He is a little fancy pants kind of. He does have that image. Like I don't see Pete Buttigieg playing a game of football out on the out in the yard or doing any farm work. I agree. He's like like I could see Pete Buttigieg riding horses equestrian style, but not like around the barrels. Like he's not going around the barrels. But like George W. Bush, I could have saw George W. Bush go around those barrels with the horses and
wrangling and oxen.
Yeah, that's funny. But yeah, I think Pete Buttigieg is brilliant. But I think the reason he got that job is because he dropped out so that Biden could win. And
without question. But
I don't know if I love that.
You want progress in transportation, and I literally read something where in Indiana when he was the mayor, like Pizza Hut or something had to create a program called Pizzas for Potholes to get potholes in Indiana fixed because the streets are like third world countries.
Well, that's one of those questions. I'd love to hear what he says on that because I think I'm sure it wasn't like he was like, screw those potholes, we're not doing nothing.
But
I'm sure he was trying to get these things done.
I believe there was also a part where he privately paid to get the potholes in front of his house fixed.
Oh, that's not good. Not good.
Yeah.
Well, but yeah, like maybe he wasn't able to raise enough funds for it, and so himself personally fixed the potholes in front of his house because he's got the money to do so. But yeah, it's not a good look. And when you're a politician, some things like that always.
But I'm pretty sure it's illegal to fix potholes in your street.
It's illegal?
I believe so. In some states, unless you're contracted, because it's a government job.
Yeah.
And it needs to be done by the standards of the government or something to the tune of that. It was, it was a TV series I was watching, but a guy had potholes in front of his street. So he tried to fix it. And the cops came out and like, sir, you can't be doing that. That's a government job. And he goes, but no, I've called like 3 times to get this fixed and no one will fix it. And he goes, well, I'm sorry, but you're going to have to empty that pothole. So he empties the pothole, and towards the end of the episode, he winds up like spray painting a swastika on the street. So they come and fix that. And while they're at it, they'd fix the pothole.
Oh my God. I mean, that's why people get frustrated with government, right?
Fucking A.
Because I can understand like not wanting everybody to be out there putting stuff down on the roads. We've got a standard we want to uphold. It's for everybody. We want to make sure that, but when it's broken and nobody's fixing it, that can be frustrating.
Yeah.
All right.
But anyways, enough about Mayor Pete.
Sorry, that was.
So what do you, I was just talking to my fiance about this, so I figured you would bring it up at some point, but I guess I'll go ahead. What do you think about the conflations between the response to this riot as opposed to any of the, 1619 riots or whatever we decided to call them?
Okay, I was purposely not bringing them up because I wanted to, and I thought maybe you would, and in my head, I wanted to keep saying on Facebook, and I hate getting into those little debates. I think I even deleted the little post that I put about how you can believe that both things are wrong, because I think we have to look at each of those issues separately. They're not the same thing, and it's not something that we should conflate. We should put side by side. The issues with the Black Lives Matter protests are a whole separate issue about police brutality, violence. A lot of it has to do with the history of the United States. And even within those, even if I could understand why somebody could feel so angry and so hurt, I would urge them not to be burning down businesses. I would feel like that's the wrong way to go. And if I could have a conversation with the person who was lighting the business on fire, I'd be like, this is wrong. And if you do it, you should expect to get arrested. And you should expect to have to face those consequences.
Yeah.
So I disagreed with those kind of burning down the cities. And we talked last time, I'll have to send that to you. The Mayor Lance Bottoms of Atlanta, her total rebuke of anybody who was burning down the cities. And so a Black female mayor from Atlanta who is, was on the ticket to be the vice president or on the list, short list, condemning violence in the riots. And of course, we would have liked to seen all Democrats doing that, but the idea, like, it was a little bit more complicated than there is a total lie from the president of the United States egging this on, and that is what drove this riot and this violence. It just seems totally nonsense. But there really have been Black people who have been beaten and killed by police unjustifiably, unarmed Black people. And we've seen it so many times. Those riots seemed a little bit more like in the real world. Like, if they were peaceful totally, then it makes sense. And when they got violent, sometimes it kind of made sense, even if I would have urged against it getting violent.
Yeah.
What do you think about conflating the two?
So, like, I've heard the argument that, these people are standing up for social injustice and civil rights and police brutality on Black people. So we can't speak onto how one gets to that point because we'll never understand it, or
right,
however that argument usually goes. But if you're trying to make apples and apples, on one side, you've got a group of people who their belief is that this country is rooted in racism. Our founding principles are designed to protect racists and to enable racism, and that the entire thing needs to be torn to the ground in order to save it, is essentially what the message of the 1619 protest was. The thing about it is, those people, I feel like, for the most part, obviously there's opportunists, but the people for the most part involved in those riots believed that. They truly believed that this is what we're fighting against. This is why we're doing this.
Yeah.
So if you're comparing apples to apples on this side, yeah, there's not a lot of evidence saying this election was stolen. There's a lot of allegations. Nothing that I have seen has been substantiated. There's never been anything that's just so blatantly like, guys,
yeah,
it's right here. Like,
right.
But the fact remains, these people believe it. And they believe it because Trump has spent all this time telling them it's true. And on the other side, they believe it because the media has been telling them all this time that it's true. But in neither case does the data actually bear out. It doesn't come to that conclusion in either case. Right. So if you're going to say this one's okay, because these people are fighting for what they believe, and they've tried doing it peacefully and it got nowhere, so it was their time to revolt. Why is people are doing on the other side? They believe the very fabric of our Constitution has been stolen. And that's the one thing this country prides itself on, I think, on the whole, over anything else, is that our democracy is the best in the freaking world. That's what we got. We've got the best westernized system of determining everything. The system was made 300 years ago and it's perfect. And that is being taken away. That is being soiled. That's it. It's done. That's what they believe.
Yeah.
But the difference is, and I hate to point it out, the difference is the Black Lives Matter protests destroyed innocent Black-owned businesses to prove their point. The Capitol Hill protest took their problem to who they're pissed off at and where they're pissed off at. They didn't affect Joe's Pizza Shop or, Nike or anything else. They went straight to the source, and that's where they brought their shitstorm.
Yeah. So you would have
So
rather the Black Lives Matter protest just target like police precincts, or like
I
that would
wouldn't
have given them
any of it.
more?
And that's what I want to be very clear on, because
Yeah.
there's so many memes saying, "Oh, we all white people, hated these riots, but you're cool with these riots," or
Right.
I'm not cool with any of it, and I want to be
Yeah.
very clear on that. None of it is acceptable. None
Right.
of it. Once you start destroying private property
Mhm.
to get your point across, or hurting innocent people to do it, your point is now null and void. There is no excuse. You're not just a product of your environment at that point.
Mhm.
You lose your argument. It's done. And
Yeah,
I
because
want
there's
to
just
be
there's a
abundantly clear on
note.
that. I am not supporting this
Yeah.
one.
Like, so it is tough because there's got to be a time when violence is necessary, right? Like, I'm not total pacifist at
Sure.
some point, but where that line is can sometimes be tricky. And I think I agree with you. You make a great point about beliefs, and Sam Harris talks about this a lot, why it's so important to make sure that people are thinking rationally, that they're using evidence, and that they're able to have those kind of conversations. Because once you start believing something enough, it'll make you do crazy things, make totally rational people do insane things. I think um, they used to argue about it with religion a lot. They would say, for good people to do good things, that's not hard. To get bad people to do bad things, that's not hard. But to get good people to do bad things, that takes religion. And it's not just religion, but
Yeah.
maybe it is. It's a form of religion. Sam Harris also made the point, if you believe that this coronavirus was created by Bill Gates to put microchips inside of us so that Joe Biden can get elected, you're in a cult. You're in a religious cult. But if you're on the other side and you really believe that there is a mass conspiracy to not hire Black people in businesses, and that we are systematically trying to hunt down Black people in our country, and it's the biggest problem that we face in America, you might also be in a cult. Like, this is the numbers don't bear out on this. And there's a conversation to be had for sure. I'm the biggest supporter of making sure that Black lives matter to people, and it does seem like our country has forgotten that group of people more than anybody else on a consistent basis throughout our history. And it seems like we slowly march toward equality, but gosh, the march is slow. But yes, I think we have to be very, very careful before saying that one was okay and the other wasn't okay. Beliefs matter, and these people did truly believe it. I think the only defense, like you were saying, at the very end, how they burned down innocent Black businesses and things like that, which is the point, right? That's terrible, wrong. It doesn't help the cause. It makes people start calling you rioters rather than protesters. And I think lots of Black Lives Matters protests were totally peaceful. I think I know that the BLM protests in my hometown, the guy said that he'd personally beat you up if you started causing any violence in the streets. Like, the leader of the protest was not having it.
Yeah.
But yeah, what you were saying, I think maybe they felt like, where can they go? Like, it's everywhere. It's in the streets in their cities. It's at the Wendy's. It's at the, grocery store. It's when they're walking on the sidewalk coming home with some iced tea. It's like, what are the institutions? Why do they matter? Oh, I'm supposed to keep your institutions all nice and clean? No, 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 no. You're going to get chaos until we get. I think that was their point. Like I said, I don't think that's the way to go about it, but I think maybe that was why they didn't attack Capitol Hill, because it's not just Capitol Hill. It's down at the Target. It's over at the gas station when they come back with a pack of Skittles. It's walking in the park. It's everywhere for them. And those micro transgressions, even though I oftentimes, like, we're a little too sensitive, I can't imagine like the little things that every day that must kind of pile up on somebody who who walks through life and people are like looking at him a little bit like they're gonna steal, or scared a little bit when they get in an elevator because they look a little more dangerous, or every time they see somebody as the gangster on television happens to be a black kid. And those little things must, I can imagine, being very, very angry. And like you said, we can't ever fully imagine what it would be like to live that life. And it still doesn't justify, unfortunately, just violence. You can't do it. You just can't do it. But there's a little bit of understanding in that sense. And like you said, you got to have a little bit of understanding for these poor people who felt and truly believed that their democracy was being stolen from them. And that's why they went. I mean, that girl who got shot and killed, I
She's
saw,
draped in a Trump cape, like, she was just there for the Instagram selfies.
well, I saw a rant from her, like, I guess that she released before this whole thing. And she's like,
Yeah, of course, that didn't take long.
did you? Yeah, they dug it up right away. And she's just like off the rocker, going crazy in the car. Kamala, where's Kamala? I swear this whole country's going crazy and people don't know it. And she's just going off, and you're like, and she's driving, and you're just, oh, this lady is drank the Kool-Aid. And she was young, and I'm
Yeah,
sure
but
she had tons of people who loved her, and just tragic. Sorry.
in a
talking too
way,
much.
isn't that kind of the same tactic of taking, say, one of these black victims of police brutality and saying, this is their police record. They've got multiple charges of assault, and that, like,
Mhm.
you're trudging up
yeah.
something about this person
She had
that
one bad
almost
day.
doesn't matter in this.
It doesn't, not
Right.
at all. I mean, it's sad that she put herself in that situation, because and we all probably have friends and family members who supported Trump, who loved Trump. That, at least on my side, I felt like, well, you drank a little bit of Kool-Aid too much. Okay, let's not talk about this over Thanksgiving. Let's talk about football. And it would break my heart if one of those people that I loved happened to be at the Trump rally, gets mixed up in this. It's for the revolution, and you're in the crowd, you're in the excitement, and then all of a sudden things get real, and you're breaking down a window, and then they fire a shot, and somebody dies. Like, it just, how many people were there and throughout that whole thing walked away totally fine, and that just, the one girl happened to be at the worst place at the worst time. It is tragic to lose a human life like that, no matter what she believed in. But we do have to be careful with, and our media is just as much to blame, I think, sometimes, by not, by either propagating some of these lies, continuing just for the clickbaits or for the likes. We have to take our journalism back somehow. We have to figure out a way to have true journalism that we can all trust, that there are facts that both sides can be like, okay, well, at least Walter Cronkite's telling us this truth. Whether I agree with it, his stance or policies or whatever, at least I know what he's saying is true, and then we can debate. But it seems like a lot of people are in different universes, and it makes it really hard to have a rational conversation.
Yeah. I was listening to, or I was actually watching that Schultz Saves America on Netflix.
I got to watch that.
It's really good. And he went on this rant about our biases and how, everyone's got information to support their biases. But he said something that was really interesting, and I don't want to screw it up, but it was like, the information we gather doesn't confirm our biases. Our biases confirm the information we gather. Like, we go out looking for the things that support our side of the argument and say, ha, see, here it is. And I thought that's so obvious when you hear it out loud for the first time, but it's like, I never thought about it like that.
Yeah, there's this book. I don't know if you can see this. I need to send this to you. It's called the Righteous Minds: Why Good People Disagree on Religion and Politics. It's written by this psychologist, Jonathan Haidt. And there's a study in here that it confirms exactly what you said. His main point of the book is really interesting. He lays out, he says that we have taste buds for morality. So you know how you have salty, sweet, bitter, those kind of taste buds, where our morality He says it's kind of the same thing. There's like the care and harm, fairness and cheating, loyalty, betrayal, authority, subversion, and sanctity, degradation. But Democrats usually only play on care, harm, fairness, cheating. We want to make sure things are fair. We want to make sure people are feeling good and are cared for. But loyalty, that's a great taste bud for the Republicans. They play that game all the time. Authority, they love authority. Sanctity, religion. And Democrats would win a lot more if they knew how to tap into the moral values that people have, especially in what we call the flyover states, that we almost shun loyalty. You're your own individual person. We shun sanctity. Nothing is sacred. You do whatever you feel is good for you. And
unless you don't agree with it, in which case, pack your bags, you're canceled.
Yeah, but he definitely has a study there where we confirm our own biases and we look for those types of things. And it is really sad that it's trained, right? Like I try to teach kids this in school, and some of them get it and some people just don't. You really have to try to look at the other person's perspective and really have to try to put yourself in their shoes, figure out why you're wrong, poke holes in your own arguments, sharpen your own side or your own sword, metaphorical sword. Because it's really easy to just look for things that confirm what you already believe. And that goes with religion, and that goes with political, it goes with a lot of our ideas about the world that we just grow up and that's what our culture told us to believe. And so we believe it.
Yeah.
I bet it was really good for evolution. Like people who didn't believe what their parents told them probably ran off the cliffs, got eaten by the tigers. But the ones who were like, oh, don't go over there. Okay. I won't go over there. That place is bad. Okay. Bad place. The people who are like, bad place. I got to check that out. They were probably few and far between.
Yeah.
And
then found and then like the people are like, I don't know, it's only an infected finger. Do I have to cut the whole arm off?
Right. I think we're probably hardwired a little bit to trust the people who look like us, people who speak like us, people from where we're from. I know that I definitely change my voice and I try not to do that now. But if I'm around a certain group of people, I definitely start taking on their accents. If I meet an English couple, I'm like, oh, I would be so remiss if I didn't mention that this story about Winston Churchill that I know. And it's weird, but as stupid as I sound often, my wife tells me, I think there was a reason a little bit. Trevor Noah talks about this too. He speaks a bunch of different languages and he says, but you can connect with people. So he has a really funny story about he was walking home one day and two guys who spoke a different language than what they thought Trevor Noah spoke are like talking about how they're going to jump him. And he turns around and like in their perfect language says, hey bro, who are we jumping? I'm in, let's go. And they were like, oh no, bro, we thought you were somebody else. And it like got him out of the situation. And I definitely know that I've been in conversations where, you put on a little twang in your voice, like, oh no, I know what you mean, man. I grew up playing football up there in Dove V, and they kind of accept you a little bit more because you sound like them, or it gives them a little comfort.
Yeah.
Am I way off here?
I mean, I don't do it personally. I mean, I know like I got a buddy who's Jamaican, but he's lived here so long that he doesn't have an accent. But as soon as you put him on the phone with his dad, or like I took him to Trinidad for a weekend, and the accent comes right out, like instantly, like Bumba Clot. I can't do it. But what was really funny though is like we were in Trinidad and his accent comes out like the entire time. Like even when we're not with Trinidadian people, and he's just me and him, and he's still talking like this.
Yeah.
And he goes, it's really weird though. I'm from the islands. Like I grew up in Jamaica. I can't understand a damn thing these people are saying. You somehow are like fluent. Like there were times where they say something and I look at him like he just asked you like if you wanted to catch up, something like that.
Yeah. Yeah, it is. That is funny. our different dialects and things like that. I wonder if that'll all go away the more and more that we become like a connected global society where we're all online listening to
Well,
all
I don't know,
different
dude.
kinds
Not if
of
we keep
speech.
segregating ourselves and saying that everybody else that's not us is bad.
Well, we got to stop doing that. Yeah, it must be so funny to Joe Rogan posted, "Dear aliens, now would be a good time like if you've been waiting." Um, but
Yeah.
yeah, it must. I just always thought it must be so funny to if there are aliens looking down, like you guys are on the same team. What are you doing? Like we can't seem to figure out how to just work together, and it seems like something you could train some 5-year-olds to do. Well,
Did you
Justin, I am so
see,
sorry, but my baby is up and crawling around in his crib right now. So,
all right, Daddy, get to it.
all right. Ladies and gentlemen, this has been another episode of Across the Aisle. My name is Chaz Case.
I'm Justin Collins.
All right. Be peaceful. All right. I'm leaving.
All right, brother.